Well, it's Monday, and we actually have some interesting housing information to discuss. Um, Part of the original CARES Act, and we've discussed this before, but part of it dealt with a possibility for a mortgage forbearance or deferment. The original information that was discussed with us was that um, mortgage companies were going to allow homeowners up to 90 days of a deferment of payment if these were people that were having some level of economic impact by COVID-19. We were very excited about the program right off the bat because obviously this helps to keep people that are going through levels of distress, financial distress in their homes without adding more distress of not being able to pay their mortgages. It really seemed like a great program and something that was going to help us through this economic turmoil. As we got a little deeper into it, there started to be a little bit of negative press about it. We heard that there were actual mortgage companies that were starting to say that, yes, we will do this, but at the end of the 90 days, we're going to demand a lump sum upfront as a condition of the deferment or forbearance. And obviously, consumers started to get very concerned because if they are struggling financially for 90 days, the idea of thinking that on day 91 that they were going to be back whole and in a position to repay that quote unquote deferment slash debt was causing quite a few concerns in the big picture. So this was definitely a concern. We have found the numbers say that about 3.5 million Americans have applied for a mortgage forbearance. So obviously a huge group of people, and so there was a lot of concern on how this was going to be handled, and people were starting to get quite nervous about it. Earlier today, the Federal Housing Finance Agency kind of said, hey, let's get the confusion out of the way. Let's discuss what's going to happen. They announced that all Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, all those basically those backed mortgages, they were not going to require a lump sum repayment. They actually had different options of how this could be handled to keep people successfully in their homes. Now I should say, this doesn't include stuff that isn't Fannie and Freddie backed, but they also made a strong encouragement that the loans that were not under that backing as well should be following a similar protocol. Now, in terms of the options with this that they announced and what they talked about today, first and foremost, there is the idea of a straight loan extension, so that essentially the missed payments were just tacked on the end of the loan when that time came. So that's option number one. So the payments don't change; they essentially go on pause, and the term of the actual mortgage would be extended by the number of payments missed. So if you missed the 90 days, that would be 3 payments. You'd have 3 more payments on the end. There's also the idea of a loan modification. I talked a little bit about this, I think last week, and the idea of slightly changing somebody's terms so that they can still be paying it, but maybe at a lesser level, and maybe not a full forbearance, but some options in that. There's also the idea of a repayment plan. So some people don't want to extend the term, so there would be a possibility of paying a portion of that over time to get them back to a point in which they're whole, so they could spread it out over time as some sort of repayment plan. There is the opportunity for a full repayment as well, because for some people in their positions that may be the best option, but once again, that's not the only option. The other thing that was told to us and was announced earlier today, to make it clear, the initial term of the forbearance is currently set at 90 days. But there is language, and this was part of the original act. I did comment on this before. There is the possibility for that to be extended. It can be extended at 3 to 6 month increments, up to 1 year as of right now. So as of right now, we can think that there's a possibility of a 1 year deferment or forbearance on a mortgage based on the situation. But what it sounds like, at least, and once again, this information is changing so rapidly, we're trying to stick with it. It sounds like you may have to, quote unquote, kind of rediscuss, reapply, even though it's not really an application, but just to get that next extension to be able to show that it's still a necessity. So just wanted to clear the air on it. It is a great program. It is giving the people to kind of take the financial burden of home ownership right now off of the table. Keep people in their houses. As I keep saying, for our housing industry, banks do not want to own houses again. We saw how terribly that went, and they are doing a lot to keep homeowners in their houses. And now to be able to do it in a way to help them kind of continue to do the things that they need to do, and not worry about it quite as much, I think is a really, really great part of the CARES Act, which I was really glad that they cleared the air on some of that, because like I said, the negative press that it got in the last week or so, glad to know it wasn't deserved. So if you have any questions specifically on mortgage forbearance, please feel free to reach out. If I can't answer them, which could be likely, I'd be happy to help point you in the right direction so that we can get you some answers. Once again, 3.5 million Americans have applied for and received some sort of mortgage forbearance at this point in time. So if you are considering that or in a position for that, you're not alone in it. It's being put out there to help us through this. So on that note, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, take care of one another, take care of yourself, be responsible in your social distancing, and be responsible for yourself. I am committed to getting through this with you. I am excited to get through this with you. Every day that passes, we are one day closer to a better place. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to support. Thank you for the questions. I'm glad we're doing this together. I will see you tomorrow.